Welcome to the Productivity Lovers Podcast.
Woo!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Productivity Lovers Podcast, the podcast about how to become more productive in your work and home environment. The Productivity Lovers Podcast is brought to you by Chris Scrott, a certified professional organizer, and Deb Lee, a digital productivity coach. Buckle up and enjoy the show.
Let's talk about pet peeves.
Yes, let's. You sent me a text message, all very hot and bothered. Something has got a bee in your bonnet. What happened?
Well, how are you?
Well, I guess I should say, how are you too? I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. What I love about you is that I sent you a text message saying, I have a pet peeve. And you were like, let's get on a call and talk about it.
Yes, let's chat.
Here we are. So my pet peeve is this. When did we become a society of people that need a reminder to do things? Like whenever somebody, if I go to the dentist and I say, I like to come and see you in 6 months.
Yes.
I pull out my phone. I find my calendar 6 months from today. I schedule an appointment on it. It lives in my calendar. You know, the week of or the week before, I'm like, what am I doing next week? I'm paging through. It's like, oh, look, I have to go to the dentist. Yeah. I don't need to wait for the dentist to call me to say, hey, Chris, you're coming next week.
Okay, but you are a fairly organized person, productive, high achiever with a calendar. Yes. So tools at your disposal, tools that you use, digital tools, perhaps, that will remind you of things.
Yeah. I see you taking the side of the people with the need for reminders.
Well, I'm not necessarily taking a side. I am presenting some facts.
Yes.
And my observations of
Go
you,
for
I've known you now for 15 years. All of those things I just said about you are true. And then there are others of us in society who are not as organized, who don't have the right tools, or who do have the tools and who feel overwhelmed and who find themselves unable to remember to do things. And they do need the call the day before from the dental office, or the email that says, hey, this appointment's coming up soon. Some of us are just wired a little differently.
Yeah, you know what? And I have no judgment for the people that need the reminders, right?
Okay. So no judgment. Very good.
So here's what I do have a problem with, though.
Okay.
Is that the system now is wired for all of the people that need the reminders. And once again, I have no judgment for you people that need reminders. Okay. Like, more power to you. But like the other day, I scheduled an HVAC service.
Okay.
HVAC service.
HVAC, yes. Okay.
I can say that word. I'm a big girl. And I received 7 reminders about my appointment.
Oh, so that's where that's coming from. That could have been a glitch in their technology.
No, because I called. I was just like, okay, I got it. We have an appointment. And then the lovely person on the other end said, I'm very sorry that we have to bother you with so many reminders. But she said, the amount of cancellations we have merits this many reminders, and I think the last time I went to the dentist, I was also like, dude, enough with the reminders. Like, as I was there scheduling my appointment, I was like, she's like, we'll give you reminders. And I was like, can I opt out of the reminders because I know I'm coming? And she was like, no, we do reminders for everybody, because she said 40% of people don't show up for their dental appointments.
That's a big percentage.
I was like, 40% of people forget they have a dentist appointment when they actually made an appointment. She was like, nobody writes this stuff down anymore. We give you a little card with a date on it and give it to you. She was like, people lose that stuff all the time.
They do.
And so I started thinking like, wow, like when did that become okay? When
When
did
are,
it become
well,
okay that we have to be reminded 7 times that we have an HVAC appointment?
because our lives are more full or filled with things, more meetings, more things to do, more places to be. We have several people in our lives or in our household that require shuttling to soccer, doctor's appointments, to all these other things. And then over time, it just becomes so overwhelming. Now, there are probably those of us out there who are afraid of going to the dentist and very willingly forget to go to
Mhm.
that appointment. But generally speaking, I think our lives are just really, really full. And I think some of us are more prone to not using the tools at our disposal consistently.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you ask someone, do you use a calendar? They'll say, yes. The average person, yes, I use a calendar. Paper or tech, we go through that conversation. We talked about that in a recent episode. And then we say, well, how often do you open up your paper planner? Or how often do you consult with your calendar, your digital calendar? Oh, when I have some time, usually the morning when I get to my desk, I look at it. There's no routine of, well, let's look at it the day before so we can see what's coming, or even just look out further ahead, a few days ahead to see what's coming down the pike. There has to be some routine and habit around that. And I think that also takes practice. So even if you do have the tools at your disposal, you need some habits around it so that it's more intuitive. You can do it without even thinking. So I'm sorry you received 7 reminders.
I know. And that the truth is that like I don't do reminders to anyone.
Okay.
Like whenever people come and work with us, they're like,
Yes.
will you call us back? I was like, no, you were a grown adult. Like I made an
Okay.
appointment with you. I put it on my calendar while I'm standing here
Yes.
with you. I expect you to do the same. I just show up. Like I don't
Okay.
want to, no offense. This is like my biggest pet peeve, right?
Okay.
I don't want to be responsible for making sure that you remember that we have an appointment.
But then
Like
you might show up and they don't.
it's very rare.
Okay.
I do take people's money when they don't show up, so that
Okay.
helps
Well,
them.
that probably is a deterrent for them
It's a
not showing.
motivation for them to remember that I'm
Yeah.
coming.
So that is some kind of incentive to help them remember. 'Cause you remember when you lose money for something that you didn't
For sure.
actually
Yeah.
get, right? You remember
Yeah.
that. Um, I don't know. I feel a little bit of empathy for the folks who have trouble um, with remembering those appointments or fitting it all in.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think in the moment that we can do something and we should do something and we must. I mean, our teeth. Let's go back to the dental appointment. It's an important thing, right? The
It is,
teeth are the
yeah.
gateway to your health, right? It's important to keep them clean, no plaque buildup, blah blah blah. We all know this, but we hit a bump in the road, or we forgot that we had something else in place, and so we go do that, or we think we can make it in time and we can do it, and then the day gets away from us.
You
And
were
so I
talking
think,
about the once in a while people, and I totally have compassion. And honestly,
okay,
I am not going to stand here and claim that I have never missed an appointment
oh sure,
because
we all
I
have,
forgot to look at my calendar
we
or
all have.
because I didn't get a reminder, or that I have like, in the last minute, my phone comes up and I was like, oh no, I have an appointment in 10 minutes, and I'm
That
like,
has happened to the best of us.
yeah, I'm like scrambling to get to my Zoom call, right? That
Yes.
I'm not standing in the soapbox saying that
Okay.
like, I don't have compassion for the onesies or twosies or even threesies that has happened,
Onesies
right?
or
It's
twosies.
like it is a fact
Yeah.
of life. We all need a little, we all need a
Yes.
little compassion about
Yes.
that. I am really talking about the people that rely on that.
Okay.
And I have been in a room with people where they'll be like, they got a reminder call about something they were supposed to do tomorrow. And they were like, oh yeah, I totally forgot I was supposed to do that. I better remember to do that tomorrow. And I was in my head, I'm like, didn't you write that down? Because tomorrow you're going to forget. And it's like, of course, like 4 hours later, I'm like,
Yep.
oh yeah, well, remember you have a dentist appointment tomorrow. And they'll be like, oh my God, thank you for reminding me again. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to go so well.
Well, it's all again about, and I think this starts, pretty early on, learning to be responsible for the things you need to be responsible for.
Yeah.
right? And attending to the priorities. I mean, I probably wouldn't have a role in people's lives as a coach if productivity was all perfect and time management was all amazing. I wouldn't have a seat at the table, because everybody would be doing everything they should be at the right time, all the time. So I think, it takes some skill, but also there is going to be a subset of people that say, well, I don't need to write it down because somebody will remind me. That somebody could be my partner, that somebody could be the vendor who is expecting, or the manufacturer who's expecting a certain thing from me, or the dental office, or whomever. Somebody, that's my reminder system. And now I'm going to use that, and it's become commonplace to receive reminders. You'll get a text reminder and an email reminder, and then somebody will call you.
Yes.
So you'll get 3 ways to remind you, so that you actually
HVAC people got that down. Like they do it 3 different ways, and they do it multiple times.
But it's worth it to them to do that, because they want you to show up, or they want you to cancel. Because if you cancel, they can put somebody else in your spot.
Yes.
And if you show up, perfect, because now they can provide service to you, right? So
and I think my pet peeve is really around and this is probably rooted somewhere in somewhere completely outside of the thing that we're talking about, right? It's like triggering in my body. Maybe it goes back to my childhood where it triggers like, my time is not important to you and I am not valuable. And
there we go.
Why would you forget that we had an appointment?
Yes.
And I think also it's thoughtfulness, because other people's times are valuable. And when you make an appointment with them and you don't show up, their time was wasted waiting for you.
Agreed.
That's not cool.
You are correct.
I don't know when that became okay, but I just want to voice it aloud that is.
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge how you feel, obviously. One, I am pushing back just a smidge on it, because I think people don't actually think, oh, I'm going to waste Chris's time.
No,
I don't think that thought enters somebody's brain. I think it's more, oh, I'll remember. It'll be okay. I won't write. I don't need to write it down. That's the greatest lie we ever tell ourselves. I don't need to write it down. I'll remember, right? Because you will remember, but maybe after the appointment. You might remember too late.
Remember when you get your reminder call.
So I don't think people purposely say, oh, I'm just going to mess up her day today and waste her time. That being said, I think you make a really good point. If we all started from the position of, I don't want to negatively impact that other person's day, we would write it down. We would make a greater effort to remind ourselves, or to remember, or to use the tools at our disposal. You can walk into any store, Target, Staples, anywhere. Even Home Depot has planners, I think. I think I saw something there. You can get a planner. You can download an app. You can do that. So it would be a conscious effort to not negatively impact someone else's day. Sometimes sort of seeing the shoe on the other foot can help us to do that. And then sometimes there are people who just want to be reminded by others.
So
and people like us have to accept it,
we have to accept it, or we have to no longer be friends with them,
or work with other people, or something of that sort. I mean, someone like yourself, I don't know how you get yourself off of those reminder texts and emails, but
you don't. I've tried over and over again. Whenever I schedule an appointment, I always try to opt out of reminders. Nobody lets me. Multiple calls.
Yeah, my dental office lets me. They're like, do you want a card? Nope. Because while they're talking, when are you available, Miss Lee? I'm looking at my calendar. I have my phone right in front of me. And then they say, do you want it? And I say, no, I don't need that. Thanks. So it saves them the handwriting. It saves them their card for someone who does need the card. Because some people take that card and they stick it in their planner, or they paper clip it, or they do something with it. Some people take a picture of it. I mean, all kinds of things. I choose not to get any of those things. I still get a phone call.
Yeah, no, and I think I opt out of the card too.
Yeah.
It saves the environment because I don't need it. But you can never opt out of the calls. That's just happens.
You can't, unfortunately. And some of those calls are automated, which saves them some time. So I can appreciate that as well.
Yeah, no, people have systems to help with this this is a culture. I mean, I know we're going to get some hate mail about this, but
We might.
this is the culture we have become. We've become the people that need reminders to get things done.
Well, are we? Okay, so in a sense, we are dependent. I am at least dependent on my phone and my digital reminders. If I don't have it, I will be the person who will need those reminders.
No. Those self-inflicted reminders are totally cool. I like those. Like, I like when my reminder comes up on my phone. They're self-inflicted. I chose to receive those. I'm just talking about the intrusive ones that come via text message and emails and phone calls from other people, because they don't. Here's what it says to me. It says, you are not reliable enough to be an adult and show up when you said you would show up.
Yes.
That's what it says to me. And I don't like it. Like, it is in my nature to really take ownership for doing the things that I do. And whenever I receive 7 reminders, I'm like, oh, you get a little, I got angry. Yeah.
Angry. Okay. And I can appreciate that. I see it. And I felt it in that text message.
The little lady on the phone, most lovely person. She's like, yeah, this is the situation we're in. And I'm so sorry that you had to be a bystander in that world.
Well, I think I become or have become more understanding, even when I know someone is just chronically a late person. I still am understanding, and I am more so now, after now I live in a home with people and family and children, and also aging parents who sometimes forget things and move a little slower, don't always use technology, or at least not in the way that I do.
That's true.
And I think I tried to come up with 10 reasons why someone would do what I don't like. So they show up late. Why didn't they get up on time?
Let's take a minute. So your strategy is you create a pro list of 10 reasons why they are doing that thing that annoys you.
I do. And then it helps me I just come up with 10 reasons why they would do something. I would probably get just as annoyed as you are, my time is important too. And then I say, well, I wonder, maybe something happened to their car. Maybe they got a bad phone call, woke up on the wrong side of the bed, didn't have coffee this morning. I know how I feel when I don't have coffee, and I go down this lane. By the time I'm finished with my story of 10 things, I'm like, okay, they'll be here soon.
Oh, okay.
And then I move into, well, what can I do with my wait time?
Yeah.
So now, instead of my time is being wasted, even though it technically is, I turn it into productive time. What can I do in the hopefully few minutes that I have that I'm waiting for this person to show up?
Yeah.
Grocery list, check my email, unsubscribe, Facebook, call Cris.
I'm more tolerant of people when they're late.
Yes, I am. Very much so.
I think because there are so many moving parts to getting places on time.
Oh, yeah.
That I have compassion for people when they're late.
Some things are beyond your control with that.
Yeah, I think that that is not a pet peeve for me.
Okay.
Yeah. But I love I think I'm going to apply that to my HVAC phone calls, right? The 10 reasons why they have to remind me 7 times that I have an appointment with them.
Okay, so that's 10 times 7 calls, but yeah.
Right? It's well, I mean, I hope that, you're listening out there, maybe agree with me a little bit that 7 calls was a little, 7.
I'm thinking maybe they don't need to do 7. I'm thinking that you should, yes, maybe be a little annoyed that you have to get the reminder call to begin with, but maybe be even more annoyed with the HVAC people and say, why does it have to be 7? Why can't it be 3? I like the number 3. Why not just 3? It's easy. You got a confirmation email when your appointment has been set. Maybe the week before, you get another one, a reminder, and then the day before.
Yeah.
That's it. Done. So I think you need to take this up with your HVAC people. It's their fault.
I don't think they cared.
Probably not.
I don't think we could at all. So okay. Well, I am curious then. Like, let's just say, I'm gonna just describe myself. Don't take it personal. Like, if I
Okay.
was a little bit of a hot mess, and I was like,
Yep.
a free flowing person to the world that didn't want to write things down, didn't want to use my digital calendar, that I
Mhm.
just said like, hey, I will remember that, and I really didn't. But then I started to become a problem for me because the people around me didn't love me so much or ask me to
Yep.
dinner for that matter.
Yep.
What is the first advice you would give someone?
Well, I guess I would go back to what I said originally, which is to start thinking about the other person.
Yeah.
Put yourself in their shoes. So for you, you don't want to feel constrained, and you don't need that structure of a calendar and a planner. And I get all of that. But this is not necessarily about you, because now you're involving someone else.
Mm-hmm.
There's another person on the other side that it's going to be affected. If there was no one else and you're like, I'm going to go shopping today, no timetable, no set time, no nothing, just when I feel like it, I'll just go when the mood strikes me. That's great. But when you set an appointment, it's like setting an intention.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment to the other person that you're going to show up when you say you're going to show up at the agreed time. It's a partnership in time, right? We agree. You and I, we have that partnership. 1:30, 1 o'clock. We show up. We get our clapper. We clap. We start, right? We talk. And we do this like day in, day every week. We do this. We have a routine. It feels good. It works. We love it. Because it's a partnership. You're not doing this in isolation. When it's just you by yourself, heck, you want to dance on your head and, in a tutu and do pirouettes, go for it. I'm all about it. You want to be late, not late, great. But when it involves someone else, then your mindset has to be, it's now a partnership in tandem with another human being who has expectations that we're going to meet at a certain time. So we must think about it in that way.
Yeah. Rob and I were talking about this the other day. We were out with the girls, and something about like having a phone came up, and then he was like, I remember a time when you said, you called from like a landline at home,
a payphone,
sometime in the middle of the afternoon, and you're like, do you want to go to the movies? Let's meet by the fountain. And then
yes.
And then you establish a time, and then you just went
show up
by the phone. There were no reminders. There were no text messages. Like, we just showed up. We were reliable because we wanted to see our friends. And
we didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
I guess.
That is true.
And we also didn't envision not showing up. Our lives weren't so full that we couldn't. Mm-hmm. And we thought, well, it's also something we wanted to do. We want to go to the movies. We want to meet up with our crew, right? We wanted to do that. So we knew, okay, well, I need to meet her by 2. It takes me about an hour to get to the fountain. I got to leave now at 1. And we do it. And we show up.
Yeah.
And if the person we were meeting was late, we would just say, okay, they'll be here soon.
Yeah. We just assumed that they would come at some point.
We would. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think to a certain extent, you're right. We have become dependent on these reminders to get us places.
Yeah.
And overly so to a degree. And I think we've also turned some of that inward, and we're not thinking about it as affecting someone else. And I think if we, sort of change the mindset.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I think I love that you said that. I think that is my takeaway from this conversation, is like, it's just to remind ourselves that whenever we make an appointment, there is somebody else on the other end waiting for you, committed to you, expecting for you to show up, or me to show up, right? And and when I don't show up the way I'm supposed to, that has an impact on that person. And because, when you commit, they're giving their time, I'm giving my time, and we're just committed to this partnership for whatever that appointment is.
And maybe if we think of it as a partnership, maybe if we see it as this something other than, oh, it's just a dental appointment. Well, they've carved out space for you.
Yeah.
They told someone else no, or had to put them at a later time or a later date because you said yes.
Yeah.
So it does have an impact, but it's to be able to see that impact and to appreciate it and then internalize and say, okay, fine, I'll show up for this dental appointment on time. I'll make sure I remember because I know I will forget. So I will therefore write it down, create a voice memo, put it in an app, tell my partner to remind me, something along those lines.
Hey, I think if you want the dental reminder from the dentist, that's cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think you need 7, but
I don't either.
No, I think you should take it up with the HVAC people. 7 is just crazy.
Oh, I took it up with the HVAC. I totally took it up with the HVAC people, but like I said, they didn't care.
All right.
And I just think, I fell a victim of all of the people that didn't show up to their commitment. So that was my pet peeve. Thank you for letting me share.
Well, and thank you for bringing it up. I mean, honestly, when I saw the text message, I couldn't wait to chat with you about this. So
yeah, I think when being productive is and having good time management is so cumbersome in so many ways, right? It has so many moving parts to it. And I think we committed to a conversation about time management. And when I was thinking about the time it took me to get all those reminders, and then the 20-minute conversation I had with the HVAC people about the fact that really don't need 7 reminders. It just felt like, it was like, this is time consuming. And then it was like the energy of it. It was just like, I resented this for a lot of reasons. So I was like, well, maybe other people feel the same. And
I'm sure
I appreciate your perspective to it. And it made me think about it a little tiny bit differently.
A little tiny bit, not a whole lot, just a tiny bit. Tiny bit.
Next time I have my HVAC service, I will just embrace the 7 reminders and I'll be like, hey, here's another one. Yay.
Well, as always, you guys, we hope you enjoyed today's episode and let us know what your pet peeves are. And of course, you can seek us out on social media everywhere. And you can find us at productivitylovers.com. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Productivity Lovers podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe so that you get notified when we upload a new productivity podcast. For more tips and notes from the show, check us out at productivitylovers.com. Talk to you soon.